Forget romance. Forget rose petals and fairy tale poetry. In nature, the perpetuation of the species isn't an act of love, it's trench warfare. It's a brutal collision between the instinct for life and the promise of death. Here, pleasure is a weapon. Seduction is measured in scars, broken bones, and spilled blood. Sometimes it requires tearing one's own flesh to let life pass through. Sometimes it demands drowning your partner under tons of mud. Welcome to the most terrifying and fascinating alcoves of the animal kingdom. What you are about to see isn't high school biology. It is pure horror. Number 10. The Spotted Hyena, the Anatomical Nightmare. If hell had a maternity ward, it would be modeled after a hyena's den. In this ruthless matriarchy where females are larger, more aggressive, and stronger than males, evolution has played a trick of absolute cruelty. Nature has endowed the female with a biological aberration unique in the world, a pseudopenis. This isn't a simple curiosity. It is a hypertrophied urogenital canal, a narrow, rigid tube of flesh running through a clitoris the size of a male penis. There is no other opening. Everything must pass through there. Urine, mating, and the unthinkable. Birth. For the male, the reproductive act is already a humiliating number, a clumsy balancing act under the threat of his partner's fangs. But for the female, it is a death sentence. Imagine having to expel a fetus the size of an otter through a pipe barely wider than a pen. The skin doesn't stretch, it cracks. During the first birth, the tissue often tears spectacularly, causing massive hemorrhages that turn the den into a slaughterhouse. The canal is so long that the cub risks suffocating in the umbilical cord before even seeing the light of day. 60% of firstborns die at birth, and often the mother follows them to the grave, a victim of her own anatomy. Here, giving life is the most dangerous act of existence. Number 9. The bonobo, the dictatorship of pleasure. Let's leave the aridity of the savanna for the oppressive humidity of the Congo jungle. Here, the air is heavy, saturated with moisture. But unlike the territory of chimpanzees, where the law of the strongest and tribal cannibalism reign, among bonobos, violence has been replaced by a soft drug: sex. The bonobo has hacked the social code of primates. It has transformed the reproductive act into a universal currency, an omnipresent social cement. Imagine a society where every conflict, every tension, every frustration is settled not by a fist, but by an embrace. A dispute over a juicy fruit? A quick genital friction settles the score. Collective anxiety over a storm? A group orgy soothes the nerves. What is troubling here is the proximity to humans, but pushed to an uninhibited extreme that makes us uncomfortable. French kissing, face-to-face positions, homosexuality, oral stimulation. The entire spectrum of pleasure is used as a diplomatic tool. Females in particular weave indestructible alliances through these intimate contacts, forming a wall of solidarity against male aggression. It is a fascinating, almost disturbing carnal utopia. Seeing our closest cousins use intimacy as a simple social lubricant, erasing war with a mechanical, endless embrace. Number 8. The Lion, the King of Thorns. The storybook image shows us the Lion King sleeping peacefully under an acacia, his golden mane floating in the wind. It's a lie. The reality of the crown is torture. When the lioness goes into heat, the savanna becomes the theater of a sadomasochistic marathon that defies understanding. The male is equipped with a biological weapon invisible to the naked eye, hidden in his anatomy: a barbed penis. It is bristling with dozens of keratin spines, hard as fingernails, angled backward like the barbs of a fishhook. Entry is possible. Withdrawal is a tearing sensation. Every back-and-forth movement literally scrapes the female's internal walls. This isn't a design flaw, it's a cruel necessity. Only this intense pain triggers the hormonal shock necessary for ovulation. And this isn't an isolated act. It is an endurance test that can last 4 consecutive days. The couple isolates themselves from the rest of the pride. They stop hunting, they stop eating. They mate every 20 minutes, 100 times a day. day and night. The exhaustion is total. The roars are not of pleasure, but of frustration and aggression. By the end of the week, the king is nothing more than a gaunt wreck, and the female, brutalized from the inside, perhaps carries within her the next generation of killers, conceived in pure pain. Number 7. The elephant. The earthquake. When testosterone becomes a poison, biology calls it muth. It is the state of temporary madness that seizes the male elephant, transforming him into an uncontrollable titan. His hormonal levels don't just rise, they explode, multiplying by 60 compared to normal. An oily, black, foul-smelling substance leaks down his temples, marking his face like chemical war paint. In this state, he is a living siege engine, ready to trample entire trees, overturn vehicles, or kill rivals to find a mate. He is in a trance, guided by blind reproductive rage. But the female's response is just as titanic, though invisible. She doesn't scream. She makes the earth vibrate. She emits infrasound, frequencies so low the human ear cannot catch them, but which travel through the ground for miles. It is a seismic call. When these two colossi finally meet, it isn't a simple encounter. It is a continental collision. Their trunks, organs of incredible sensitivity capable of lifting a log or picking a flower, intertwine in a heavy, sensual dance. The weight of their bodies literally shakes the ground beneath your feet. It is romance on a geological scale. Number 6. The fossa. The siege of the canopy Madagascar. An island continent isolated from the rest of the world, where evolution has taken tortuous paths. In the dizzying heights of the rainforest, a drama plays out 60 feet above the ground, far from prying eyes. The fossa, this apex predator with the hybrid look of a cat and a mongoose, practices love like a medieval siege. The female chooses a specific tree, often the same one used for generations, and settles on the highest branch. She becomes the queen of the canopy. Below, it's civil war. Males amass at the foot of the tree, howling, fighting, tearing each other apart for the right to climb. But reaching the summit is only the beginning of the ordeal. Mating for the fossa is physical sequestration. Once the winning male is in position, they remain linked to each other by a complex anatomical lock, a copulatory tie. This lasts for hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes more. They are there in precarious balance over the void, exhausted, panting. The female may mate with several males in succession over several days, turning the tree into a continuous revolving door where exhaustion is the only limit. A fall would mean death, but the instinct for life keeps them nailed to the bark. Hey, let's take a breather. I have a horrible question for you in the comments. If you had to choose your end, what is the least worst? Option A, the praying mantis. The ultimate pleasure, but she eats your skull during the act. Option B, the antechinus. 2 weeks of nonstop sex, no sleep, until your body literally rots from exhaustion. So, team headless or team zombie? Drop your choice, I want to see this. Number 5, the rhinoceros, armored love. Back to brute brutality. If the elephant is an earthquake, the rhinoceros is a slow-motion train wreck. There is no room for subtlety here. These animals are vestiges of prehistory, biological tanks covered in plates of skin as thick as concrete. The female rhinoceros is one of the hardest creatures on the planet to seduce. She does not accept weakness. For her, courtship is a duel, a real fight, horn against horn, tons of muscle propelled against each other in clouds of ochre dust. She charges the male with unheard-of violence. He must not flee. He must take the hit, parry, and prove he is solid enough to withstand her fury. These clashes can last for hours. The blows of horns resonate like hammers on an anvil. It is the ultimate endurance test. If the male collapses or retreats, he is rejected. Only he who can literally survive the assault of his own partner will have the privilege of passing on his genes. If you thought love hurt, try seducing a 2-ton armored vehicle launching at full speed with the intention of running you over. Number 4. The leopard. The obsession with suffering. The leopard is the incarnation of silence. It is the shadow that glides through the night, the invisible killer. But when mating season arrives, the solitary predator breaks its vow of silence to enter a spiral of noise and fury. Leopard mating is a statistical anomaly. Imagine a week where time stops. 7 consecutive days locked in a bubble of violence. The numbers are dizzying. A pair of leopards can mate more than 250 times in a single week. That is an average of once every 15 minutes, without truce, without respite. As with the lion, the genital barbs are present. Pain is the metronome that sets the tempo of their union. But the danger is even greater here. These are 2 solitary hunters, used to killing anything that moves, forced to cohabit. The tension is palpable. They growl, claw each other, bite until they bleed. They no longer hunt, they barely drink. They consume one another, wasting away before the naked eye, their magnificent coats tarnished by dust and sweat. It is endurance pushed to self-destruction, a demonic possession dictated by DNA. Number 3. The hippopotamus, the drowning embrace. The water is murky, heavy, muddy. It is here in the silty rivers of Africa that the most dangerous animal on the continent reigns, responsible for more human deaths than lions and sharks combined. And its mating ritual matches its reputation. Terrifying. The mating of the hippopotamus is an act of aquatic chaos. The sexual dimorphism is immense. The male is a colossal mass of fat and muscle that literally crushes the female. The act takes place in the water, and for the female, it is a struggle for immediate survival. The male often holds her entirely submerged under his titanic weight. While he secures his offspring, she must fight to glean a few seconds of oxygen at the surface, sticking just her nostrils out before being sent back into the depths. Around them, the water boils, whipped by the male's tail, which sprays his excrement in a fan to mark territory, turning the lagoon into a toxic soup. It is grim, it is suffocating, it is filthy. It brutally reminds us that beneath the calm surface of the water, terror reigns supreme. Number 2. The porcupine, the minesweeper. Here the danger isn't brute force nor drowning. The danger is surgical precision. The porcupine is a living fortress, bristling with 30,000 sharp quills. Each spine is covered in microscopic barbs and bacteria, ready to embed itself in flesh and cause a fatal infection. How can 2 creatures designed to be untouchable unite without killing each other? The answer is a terrifying and millimetric truce. The female is fertile only during a tiny window, 8 to 12 hours a year. That's it. If the male misses this slot, it's over for the year. The ritual begins with a golden shower. The male douses himself in urine, then sprays the female. If she accepts this chemical parade, she proceeds with the most delicate maneuver of her life. She must flatten her spines against her body, exposing her soft, vulnerable belly. The male must then approach with the caution of a clockmaker. He must slide against her without making a single sudden movement. A slip? A loss of balance? It means immediate perforation of the genitals or abdomen. It is the sexual act experienced as a mind-sweeping operation, where the slightest error is paid for with death. Number 1. The giraffe. The fall of giants. Let's end by looking up to the sky. The giraffe embodies elegance, a swaying gait, a panoramic view. But to get there, selection is ruthless. Before even conceiving, males must prove their worth in necking duels. These aren't caresses. They use their 2-meter necks like medieval flails, swinging their ossified heads to break the ribs, vertebrae, or skull of the adversary. The impacts sound hollow across the plain. Only the surviving colossus gains access to the female. But the most striking, most visceral moment is the arrival of life itself. The giraffe gives birth standing up. The newborn, barely out of the reassuring darkness of the womb, takes a 2-meter free fall. Bam! The first contact with reality is a violent impact against the hard, dusty ground of the savannah. No gentleness, no cradle. The shock is necessary to tear the amniotic sac and force the first breath. The calf must stand up within minutes, still wobbling, or die under the teeth of the hyenas that are already prowling. Life begins with a fall, and the race never stops. From the barbed pain of the lion to the muddy asphyxiation of the hippo, nature teaches us a brutal lesson tonight. Life is not a gift. It is a conquest. It is a theft. Every breath you take is the result of a lineage of survivors who endured hell, pain, and fear to pass on their flickering flame. Love may be a human invention to make existence bearable, but survival is the only universal law that holds. If this dive into biological darkness fascinated you, smash the subscribe button like a giraffe smashes a skull. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next descent into hell. Until then, see you soon.